What is going on, guys? It's Justin from the J Media back with another video. Today we'll be doing a head unit install, and my cousin actually brought his car down from Houston. We'll be working on a 2014 Toyota Rav4 to install a new head unit. So this is the original head unit. It's no longer working, doesn't play music or anything, so we're swapping this out. Head unit here, you could pretty much look on Amazon, eBay to find one. So I've done quite a few head unit installs, never done one on a Rav4, but I looked up videos and it's a pretty straightforward install. So everything's plug and play, comes with all the wiring harnesses, even come with this plastic pry tool, little instruction manual, and then we do have the actual head unit itself over here. So this is the head unit. As you guys can see, it's a nice touchscreen doubled in. Over here, the original air vents for the AC will be transferred over from the OEM setup. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully it should take us the next 30 minutes or so to get everything all done. Very easy install on the Rav4s. The very first thing you want to remove this piece up here. It's a plastic piece. So they did provide this little trim remover for plastic pieces, but if you don't have something like this, you can use a flat tip screwdriver. Pretty much pry, everything's all held on by plastic clips. And then once this piece comes out, this little, your clock, you can disconnect the wire, or you can just flip it and put it up here. And then this piece, more clips are holding it in place, a couple 10mm bolts, and everything should come right out. So pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and remove the first plastic trim piece up here. Alright, so you want to use this little end here to pry. So just gently pry, find a spot where you can kind of wedge it in. Just gently pry. And then you can also kind of pry the top a little bit and the side a little bit. And the reason why you like to use a tool like this is so it doesn't scratch your trim pieces. So see, it's already starting to come out. Alright. There you go. Easy. So see what I mean by little plastic tabs? All that's holding it in place is this little plastic tabs, so it pops right off. So next piece is this piece that you'll be removing. Same tool you're going to use. Right here you do see these little white tabs on each side. So these plastic tabs are what's holding it in place. So just like before, this time maybe you could try using the smaller end. You can try to press it slowly, like pry it. There we go. One side's out, other side. There we go. So everything's out. This wire, we can just leave it up here like that. You don't really have to disconnect it. So now that that's out of the way, we're gonna remove this piece. So there's three pieces, the two air vents and then the actual head unit. Air vents pop right out first, and again, same tool you're gonna use, plastic trim remover. Alright, so for the air vents, I already took off the right side. It just pops right out. It's held on by these white plastic tabs on the top. And then on the bottom, well, on the side, these little black tabs as well. So right now I'm going to do this side. You do need a little bit of persuasion to kind of pop it off, but you want to pretty much slowly pry. There you go. First time I was a little scared because it's pretty tight in there, but then you just want to be careful because you don't want to break any tabs. Okay. So now to remove this head unit, all it's held on is, I believe, 4 10mm. So that's one right here. One right here, one here on the bottom, and then there's one more, I believe, yeah, right here as well. So all you need is a 10mm wrench. So pretty easy, lefty loosey. And then here on the bottom, if you can reach, you might want to use an extension. Always use hand tools first, and then once you get it loose, if you do have like an electric ratchet, you can use this. It's a lot easier. So now that you broke it loose with the hand tool, you can just take it out. The reason why you want to use a hand tool before an electric ratchet is because you don't want to strip the bolts. Okay, so now that the 4 10mm screws are out, nothing's holding in place, it just pops right out. So it's held on by wires back there. So if you guys can look, you have a couple wires. You want to slowly disconnect it. These are all the wire harnesses, and again, everything's plug and play. So you just remove it like so. Use your finger, press down on the clip, comes right out. A couple more on the bottom, press, comes out. Easy. Okay, so this is the new hit unit versus the OEM hit unit. As you guys can tell, the OEM setup is a lot smaller. I believe the new double din is about 10.2 inches usually. Like I said, you'll be reusing the air vents from the OEM setup. But yeah, it's gonna look a lot more modern. It's gonna work a lot better. And in this case, on my cousin's stereo, you know, it doesn't work, so you can't really play music or anything. It's gonna be a huge upgrade. Okay, so again, this is the OEM setup versus the aftermarket. As you can tell, a lot less plugs. On the aftermarket setup, usually like your power goes here. There's a fuse that's included. This is usually, I think, like your I want to say your sound, and then all the other plugs. The reason why there's a lot less plugs is because on the OEM harness, a lot of stuff are just, I guess, separate, versus on the aftermarket setup, everything's all included and kind of like bunched together. So let's go ahead, you can put this aside. We're gonna figure out the wiring from whatever's provided and connect them to the new hit unit. Actually, before we do that, let's transfer over the air vents real quick. Let's show you guys how to get that done. To remove this side, it's held on by these little plastic tabs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and same tool that you're gonna use, this plastic trim remover. So all you're gonna do is kind of wedge it in between, lift it up, wedge it in between, lift it up. And you want to do that for all 4 sides, and then this should slip right off. Okay, so just like that, comes right apart. So you don't need this trim piece anymore. And on this new hit unit, you want to make sure you're matching it to the correct side. So over here, this is where the little adjust knob is. So you gotta make sure lines up. Okay, so once you make sure it's the correct side, you can flip it around. And just like before, we have these little 4 plastic tabs holding it in place. So they clip right in place to hold the vents in place. So carefully line it up. You also want to line up this little guy here, which is what adjusts your vent, open and close. Once you kind of line it up, all 4, you can gently push it in place. Okay, so right now, once you have everything lined up, make sure all 4 sides are lined up, and make sure this adjusting thing right here, this knob, is also lined up with the hole. You can just slowly press it in place. You gotta make sure everything's lined up, so make sure it clips. So this side's done. So right now, other side, same thing. You remove this little plastic trim, and then make sure everything feeds in, and then give it a nice little clip, just like that. Clip, look all around, make sure all 4 are lined up, and then on the front, just to make sure everything works. Okay. Alright, so now that vents are in place, we're going to connect these wires. So everything is plug and play. So what that means is no wire splicing is needed. Sometimes there are cases, I've worked with head units where, let's say you're getting a head unit from a Nissan and you're transferring it to Toyota, or a BMW to a Toyota. They don't exactly fit. The head unit would fit, but you need to do wire splicing. So what that means is you got to splice the wires, you got to connect them. I've done that. It's a lot more work. Plug and play means everything just clips right in. No wire splicing needed at all. So that's a lot easier. So there's a lot of stuff. So let's open it up one by one. So this first thing here is your GPS. So little attachment, this GPS. What we're going to do is we usually like to have it somewhere out here. So we'll connect it on the head unit, but we'll feed it through the glove box, make it nice and flush, and feed it and put it somewhere here. If you guys are wondering what the GPS is for, it's for the GPS. So with every head unit, you do have like your Google Maps and all that stuff. Most people use it for Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. But even if you don't have it connected with the GPS, it'll still work. It's just a little bit slower, depending on what head unit you buy. There are quite a few variations. They all look the same, but some of them have a slower RAM and ROM, so slower processor and a smaller storage space. I believe this is a mid-tier one, right? Like a 32 gig storage space and a 2 gig ROM. So, it shouldn't be too slow compared to the entry-level one. But to connect your GPS is really easy. It says GPS on here on the head unit, and you just pretty much tighten it. It's the only one that looks like that. So you just slowly. Okay, nice and stuck. So that one's done. We have a bunch more other wires. So most of the stuff are already pre-labeled for us, which is nice. Okay, so this one is what feeds your Android Auto, Apple CarPlay when you plug in a USB cable. So let's go ahead and connect that. Same thing, just like the GPS, we'll be feeding it through the glove box or wherever you want to have this cable accessible. So this one's a really small outlet. There's only 4 little holes. So just look for the one with 4 little holes on here. Everything matches right up. So right there. Plug it in. Okay, so that's in. Okay, so right now I'm not going to bore you guys with connecting all these wires, but what you want to do is pretty much, this one has 6 prongs, find the one with 6 prongs, put it in. This one has more prongs, find the one that fits and plug it in. Everything is plug and play, so you don't have 2 of them with the same number of prongs. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect everything, and then once I'm done, I'll show you guys everything being connected. Very important, you want to make sure the black one is usually your main power harness, and then this one right here, I think is your main like audio. But all these white plugs is supposed to connect directly to the OEM setup. So right now, same thing, we're going to match what connects where. And then we are not going to put everything back in place yet, because once we connect them, we're going to loosely have it here and then start it up just to make sure everything works. Never connects, so this one doesn't fit. There's a lot of harnesses from the OEM setup, so some of them connect, some of them don't. Like I say, the OEM setup usually have a lot of stuff already. They just have extra wires on the OEM setup, versus the aftermarket setup usually have some of them already kind of consolidated. Okay, so what I did as well was I fed the USB cables as well as the GPS cable from the back, feed it, and you want to pop your glove box. What you want to do is reach your hand in there. You can see my fingers. See my fingers down there? So you can feed the wires through. Right now, for now, I'm going to have the little USB cable just right here in the glove box. GPS, I'm going to leave it here for now. I will run it later from the side, and I'll possibly trim all the way up here, but for now I'll just leave it here. And then I'll do the same for the microphone as well, but microphone I'll run it to the driver's side underneath, and it'll be running up there. Okay, so we have the USB cables right here. That's for your Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Fed it to the back, to the glove box. And then we also have that little GPS antenna, so also fed to the glove box. On the side is right up there. And then for the microphone, you want to feed it from the back underneath the steering wheel column all the way up, somewhere right here. So right now, very important, very first test, we don't have to start up, we don't have to crank the engine, but just start it up, just to the accessory mode. And it's gonna take a few seconds to start up, so let's go ahead and let it start up real quick. Alright, so that is done. So everything powers up, which is good. So the real test first is we're going to connect the Bluetooth. So go ahead and connect your phone's Bluetooth to the Bluetooth music. Make sure these, Bluetooth is connected, and then we'll try the Apple CarPlay as well. Alright, so music works. So yeah, you always want to make sure your Bluetooth works. Next test is we'll connect the Apple CarPlay. So do you have like a cable? So USB, so if you do have like a Apple wire or Android Auto wire, you can connect it to your phone. Let's see if that works. Pretty cool. I think there are so his music's here. Once you connect your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, you can use your Google Maps, your Apple Maps, you can use your Spotify, everything shows up here, different interface. There's a lot of different settings you can definitely play around with. It's pretty much a tablet on your car. Okay, so right now that you make sure everything works, you're gonna go ahead and put it back in place. So you just want to have everything lined up with these little prongs, and then you're gonna gently push it in place once all your prongs line up. Okay, so now that you have the head unit clipped in, you're gonna put back the time as well as the emergency button. So no screws, just little plastic clips. So you want to go ahead and line it up nicely, and then pretty much clip it back in place. Line it up like so. Alright, so we have the trim piece and everything back in place. On the Rav4 is a little bit tricky because before you put this head unit on, you want to make sure to have this guy, this little emergency and clock back in, have this plastic trim back in, but at the same time you want to kind of tuck this underneath before you put it in. So a little bit of a finessing to do, but yeah, I mean everything's back. It looks like OEM. This could look like it came on the 2024 model. So right now I start it up, make sure everything works. Oh, you can also change the interface. So that's one thing we did play around with. Pretty cool. The clock, the dates, you can kind of like change the interface to different modes. And it does have the wireless Android and Apple CarPlay, so even without the wire, it works. And there's so many different themes that you can choose. All you gotta do is press and hold, and you can just cycle through all the themes. Just so many, 50 over themes. But yeah, I mean, it's very nice. Like I said, you can just Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and everything works. Alright, so I'm just gonna wrap up the video here. Hope you guys liked the DIY install video. Again, this works for the 2014 Rav4. So any Rav4 in this generation, I believe 2013 to 2018 Toyota Rav4s, if I'm not wrong, they work. And yeah, it looks great, sounds great. So definitely a nice upgrade from the OEM setup. Again, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to leave a thumbs up, hit the subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys in the next video.